In a world where trans ideology is the left's top priority, one right-wing bottom stormed the Capitol. She's J6er Watkins, the Transurrectionist. Bar owner, veteran, oath keeper, January 6th defendant, patriot, man or woman, depends on which prison they in.
Were you smoking weed in the Capitol?
That's how you overthrow the government, right? You look at the paintings and get high.
Did your public defender collude with the prosecution?
My public defender told me, oh, you're just guilty, just take it. And I said, I'm not. I'm telling you, I didn't try to overthrow the government. You've got the evidence in front of you. Just look here, look here, look there.
Were you at the garage meeting with Enrique Tarrio?
And I guess Enrique needed something from her, like it was some kind of legal thing. It wasn't even a...
Is it true that Jake Lang really passed around Bible verses signed Prophet Yisrael?
I am not a Jake Lang fan at all.
Let me ask you a question. Are the Oath Keepers a militia or just a cosplay meetup with zip ties?
They're really just people who are volunteering to help out.
Male pod or a female pod? Which had better commissary?
The Bureau of Prisons tried to put me into a men's prison, but I fought that very hard, and they ended up reclassifying me and putting me in a women's prison. So I didn't go to men's prison. Fortunately, thank God.
She walked in formation blazing joints and her own trail. Convicted by a jury, but not the charges her lawyer begged her to take. She swore to defend the Constitution. The government weaponized it. The Transurrectionist, starring J6er Watkins as herself. Only on Bobby Pickles' podcast, hosted by an English major who doesn't know pronouns either, where misidentification becomes an art form.
That's me! Hello, how you doing? My name's Bobby Pickles.
Oh, sorry.
I'm here with J6er Watkins. That was her right there. J6er is, she's like me. She's a total scum. She's a J6er. And you know, she ended up in the clink, and she did a lot of time. She did like 4 years in the various jails and prisons. And she's here today to tell her story. One thing that I cannot it's just like the elephant in the room. The one thing that really like is a standout about J6er's story is that she's a transgender J6er. And actually, I don't know. J6er, are there any others?
I'm the only one that I know of.
You have not happened upon any others, correct? Okay.
I mean, I saw a drag queen in the street when I was walking from the Ellipse, but otherwise, no.
But that person didn't take any charges, right?
Not that I know of, no.
So another thing is that J6er is an oath keeper. She's a member of the Oath Keepers and basically participated in a coup against the government, like myself as well, because, hey, I was a part of the Proud Boys. And I understand being caught up in a group and stuff like that and what that was all about. So I was there on J6. You were there on J6. I didn't have to take I didn't go to jail as long as you did. I actually got arrested for the first time a couple days before the election. And so I got very, very lucky. I'm technically a J6er, but I didn't really have to suffer like you guys did. You guys suffered quite a bit. And so can you tell me a little bit about this? Like, first of all, you know, you were in the military, right? You have a military background?
Correct. Yeah, I was infantry. I was 11 Bravo infantry. I served in 1st Battalion, 75th Rangers. I was a paratrooper.
You're a paratrooper now. When was this? Was this like back in like 9/11 times? Did you sign up?
Yeah, I was actually in airborne school when 9/11 happened. So.
Oh, so you had already joined.
Correct. Yeah, I'd been in for, I think it was 8 months. It was, yeah.
Right. And so, that wasn't what inspired you to join. You were already going after it, and you joined the military. And so, how long did you stay in for? Like the standard, like 4 years, or
a little less than 3 years. Now, my transgender status is kind of what got me caught and got me kicked out. It was the don't ask, don't tell time. So,
really,
yeah.
And so, what? So you were pretty young. How old were you when that all happened?
Well, I joined when I was 18 and I was 20 when I got caught. So
You got caught?
yeah, that's a whole thing. I had let one of my battle buddies borrow my laptop and he went through my search history and cookies or whatever. And he confronted me about it and it was a whole thing.
So this it makes me really, it's really interesting because you are a conservative person, but on the liberal side, the liberal policies, there are some liberal policies that benefit transgenders, right? Transgender people. And so wouldn't you support some of those policies?
I don't support hardly any of it. So as far as like no kids, no sports, no military, I'm against all of that. So.
Right. You're against the drag queen story hour.
All of
thing,
that.
or whatever.
It's disgusting.
All that.
Yeah.
Right. That's interesting.
I fight the trans ideology constantly and people don't understand. They attack me for it. They're like, how could you? I'm like, how could you? I mean, like, how could you? Like, like you're cutting up kids and stuff.
Help me to understand though, like how, because like that is, you benefit from that. So.
Well, I'm not selfish. So who cares about me, right? It's what's best for the country. So at the end of the day, like the trans ideology has been incredibly harmful. I mean, it's just everything that kids go through, is just terrible. Like the grooming, the indoctrination, the pornography that they put into these kids' like libraries, and never mind transitioning children. Not only is it bad because, I mean, these kids don't know what they need for the rest of their lives, for starters. Two, like medically speaking, it's incredibly harmful to their bodies. Like you can't transition a child. Like it blows my mind. And never mind sports. That's not fair to girls either. They work hard to win their trophies and win their whatever athletics, and it's not fair.
So when do you play sports?
I don't. I'm a nerd.
Okay. But if you were to play sports, and could you see what would you want to play on? Like what would you?
I wouldn't. I don't even play sports like casually with girls just because there's a safety risk involved, right? Like, right. Okay, yeah, like I transitioned 22 years ago. I've been on hormones for 22 years, more than 22 years, because I originally took them when I was 16, like DIY under the table. But it still wouldn't be fair. Like I've had surgery and everything downstairs. So like, but it's still not fair. I still have a different bone structure. I still have a different, muscle density. It's a safety factor. Like, and it's not right.
Right. And do you regret your decision at all?
To transition? No, absolutely not.
Okay. All right, because I was just trying to understand where you come from politically, why you lean right when so many things could benefit you on the left, I guess.
Again, it's like I'm not selfish. So at the end of the day, it's what's good for society, what's good for America, and this is incredibly harmful for both. So, I mean, and me being a veteran, I was a firefighter and an EMT. I've got a lot of skin in the game. I just love my country. I can't stand by for that.
Yeah. So being in the military, being a firefighter, all those things, those help you and to form the conservative mindset, right?
Absolutely. I mean, everything. And it's not just that. It's like, I want a closed border. I want a strong military. I want a strong economy. I believe in backing the blue, like I love my country. So I can't think of a single liberal agenda that like I could agree with. I'm against the murder of babies. Like, like I hate abortion. So all this stuff, it's just, I don't have any similarities with it. It's all wrong to me.
When were you a bar owner?
Well, we bought the bar in 2018. So it was,
were you already an oath keeper at that time?
No, at that point we were just invested in the business. I started my own militia in 2019 because they have tornadoes and stuff here. So we wanted to do like a natural disaster response kind of thing. And also, if you remember back in 2016, 2017, when Trump first took office the first time, Antifa was showing up and doing the Not My President riots. And so we were kind of gearing up for that too, to go out and protect businesses and help law enforcement. So That's what got me involved originally with the Oath Keepers is when the George Floyd riots happened. We were going out and protecting businesses and things. That's what got me involved with the Oath Keepers.
Mm-hmm. And so before, though, I wanted to ask about being a bar owner, though.
Sure.
I was just trying to find out like when that was happening in the whole timeline. And so that was before.
So yeah, we bought the bar about a year and a half before COVID hit. And then COVID kind of shuttered our business for a while. And yeah.
Mm. I mean, it seems like a fun, you were doing that with a business partner or something like that, or?
Yeah, me and my fiance went in on it together.
Okay. That's cool. It seems like a good a business plan. It's like selling Vice, right?
Right. We had the only business in town. It was a tiny little town, like 300 something people. So, I mean, it was the only restaurant / it was the only bar. It was the only business in town. So, yeah, it was the local watering hole.
And that's in Ohio?
Yes, correct. Yeah, it was Woodstock, Ohio.
Nice. All right. And so the Oath Keepers, tell me a little bit about these Oath Keepers. So who are they?
Sure. So they went to Target, like, kind of Target is the wrong word, but recruited out of military, fire department, police, because we go out and we do natural disaster response. We do riot protection details for like businesses and such. So it's very much like a volunteer organization. It's a way for people who have left the service to still kind of use our training in a positive way. January 6th was kind of an outlier. Before that, we never really get into trouble or anything. Like, it was kind of they made a big deal about us, but really at the end of the day on January 6th, we didn't even behave violently. My co-defendants, Kelly Meggs, Kenny Meggs, Kenneth Harrelson, Joe Hackett, Connie Meggs, they rescued Officer Harry Dunn. I was rescuing injured people on J6 and stopping vandalism. So, I mean, we got a bad rap for nothing. Just because we were a group and we showed up in military gear, they made a big deal about us, but we were there on a protective detail. We were there on contract to provide security for the stage at Area 8. So we show up in gear every time because Antifa throws bottles and rocks and fireworks and things. So yeah, we wear protective equipment, but we weren't even there for hostile reasons on J6. It was all, it was a DOJ lie, really, is what it was.
Well, what kind of people join the Oath Keepers now? It's not a fraternity. It's co-ed.
It is co-ed, yeah. I'd say probably 20% of the Oath Keepers that were out there on J6 were women.
Right. And you mentioned too, when you were just rattling off those names, your co-defendants, I think you said 2 last names that were the same. Is that right? So was that a man and husband and wife?
Kelly and Connie Meggs are both married, yeah.
And then, so what kind of people join the Oath Keepers?
They're really just people who are volunteering to help out. In 2020, there was a big influx, myself included, of people who joined the Oath Keepers because we saw what was happening with all the George Floyd riots and all the Antifa attacks. So we started protecting business and rendering medical attention. I actually rescued about a dozen Black Lives Matter protesters that were injured by like police munitions and things. They tried to paint us as like some kind of racist group. Our second in command is African American. They just tried to anything they could to paint it as some kind of far right anti-government racist group, and that's the exact opposite. Like I'm a transsexual. Michael Green, who's AKA Whip, is African American. We have women, men. I mean, it's literally like open to whoever, as long as you don't have a background check.
Same thing as the Proud Boys. You guys got demonized. The same thing. We had multiple, all kinds of different people. In fact, I was trying to recruit a trans woman, Republican, great lady, Melinda. She was my business neighbor, and but we took a vote, and she had already taken the done the below the belt procedure,
sure.
And so therefore rendering her not a man, And
Right.
Proud Boys is strictly a fraternal organization. So
I see. Yeah. So I would not be
I understood the vote.
understood.
I was open to try to recruiting, and she was great. She's a great person. Anyway, but it's when people really know the truth about these different organizations, these different groups. I think the government just doesn't like groups in general. Like any kind of group at all. As soon as like people start organizing, the government just loses their shit. They don't want anybody to form any kind of groups. What do you think about that?
I completely agree. And, especially in the case of January 6th, because if you take the groups out of it, we were there in groups, but we weren't there to do anything harmful. But if you take the groups out of it, then it just looks like a riot that was just spontaneous. But they tried to like connect the dots between the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys and like try to connect us and make it seem like there was some grandiose plan and that Trump orchestrated it all. So I think they really demonized us, you guys and us, trying to paint this narrative that like there was this attempted coup or whatever. So,
oh yeah, it was like the worst Hollywood hack writer screenplay by that person. Like it was crazy, right?
Right.
I mean, the whole narrative was completely insane. It was that like James Bond meets I don't know. Some Tom Cruise movie. Yeah. Were you present at the infamous meeting that Stuart Rhodes had with Enrique Tarrio in the parking garage prior to January 6th?
No, I didn't even hear about it until after the indictment came out. And then I was like, oh, I see where they're going with this. But
oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. You weren't there. I
just
wanted
a whole nothing burger. I mean, there's literally nothing there. They were just there to meet with Kelly Sorrell or whatever. So
what happened? What was the point of that whole thing?
Kelly Sorrell was like the Oath Keepers like attorney, basically. And I guess Enrique needed something from her. Like it was some kind of legal thing. It wasn't even I don't know all the details about it, but they talked about it briefly.
Going to J6.
Sure.
Well, first of all, back up. You said something about like that you started a militia prior to joining the Oath Keepers. So the Oath Keepers are they technically a militia?
I think Stuart Rhodes is the founder of the Oath Keepers. I think he tries to avoid that term, but that's how people perceive us. Yeah. We're more of a volunteer force. We just show up and we partner with local and state law enforcement and try to like help them out where they need us. Right.
And they, so this is like all this, this camaraderie that you had in the military, doing military service. Like weren't you a medic? Is that right?
I was, yes. So at all the protests I went because I had spent 4 years in the fire department and I had a lot of medical experience, a lot. And so I'm very passionate about being a medic. I love helping people that are hurt and getting them the help they need. So that's what I came to January 6th and every other protest for is as a medic.
Right. And so you're just basically inspired by when you saw all the George Floyd riots going on within the country, that inspired you to join these Oath Keepers. And so there's
Correct,
a big influx. There's a big influx of people. You're not like an OG Oath Keeper. Like you didn't co-found the Oath Keepers or anything like that. They've been around for how long they've been around? Are you still an Oath Keeper?
I think 2009. I ended up leaving there, and technically because I was only my sentence was commuted and I wasn't pardoned, I'm still ineligible to even try to join them because the Oath Keepers is strictly non-felon. So, and Stuart Rhodes himself had his sentence commuted, so he's still technically a felon. So even though he founded the Oath Keepers, he would be ineligible under the bylaws to even serve in his own group. I think the Oath Keepers are disbanded. I haven't really heard anything about them since I got out.
Oh, wow. So, okay. You guys go there. You're supposed to be guarding somebody aren't you supposed to be guarding like Roger Stone or something like that? Is that true?
Yeah, that's exactly what we went there for. So Roger Stone, Ali Alexander, Latinos for Trump. There was a bunch of podcasters. I want to say Strzok was there. I don't know. There was a bunch of different podcasters and influencers that we were there to escort from the Ellipse to the Capitol. We had filled out paperwork. We had done background checks with Secret Service in order to be on the congressional detail. So that was a detail I was supposed to be on, was to escort congressmen from the White House ellipse to the Capitol building. Capitol Police had given us a permit, and we had built a stage on Area 8. Sound equipment, everything was above board. And so we escorted our people from the ellipse like we planned, escorted them all the way to the Capitol building, dropped them off. We're like, okay, let's go check it out. Like, they made a big deal about it. Like, oh, here we have the Oath Keepers marching on the Capitol, but they'd like to crop the videos out. They don't want to show videos of us actually doing our security detail because, well, that undermines their narrative. They want it to look like we came there to overthrow the government, when in reality, we're there on contracted security. We had VIP passes and everything. We were contracted to be there.
Right. And then you guys walked in formation to the Capitol. Is that correct?
I mean, we had created like a bubble, and we had like our principals. That's your VIPs, the people we were protecting. We had our principals, like, so we kind of like created a bubble and we like escorted them through the street until we got to the Capitol building. So, I don't know if that's really a formation, but, the thing that people like to talk about is when we walked up the stairs, they had that infamous stack of Oath Keepers. They like to show the footage of us walking up the stairs and then they cut it. But if you look at the whole video, like, we walk up the stairs and we go like this and we turn around and we're singing the national anthem and we're smoking cigarettes and filming the crowd. And yeah, so. And
they said something about you guys were in formation or something, walking in formation.
Yeah,
that was one of the things.
That's what they said. It was a tactical stack formation, which it is not. Like I said, I was infantry. So I'm telling you, that's not how a stack works. And that's not how the police do it either. They tried to like pretend it was, but there was nothing tactical about it. We were just kind of hanging on to each other so we could get up the stairs because, you know, the crowd is everywhere. They're just smushing on us. So we just hung on to each other and kind of snaked our way up there till we got on the stairs. And then we let go of each other and we just kind of hung out for a little bit.
Is that true that you smoked weed in the Capitol?
I did.
Nice.
I did.
You're a complete pothead. I love it. Good. That's a good thing to do, though. I mean, come on. I mean,
that's how you overthrow the government, right? You look at the paintings and get high.
Look at the people that overthrew the government. Is this crazy or what? Like, this whole
super
thing,
bad at it.
All these different, like, these motley crew of all these different people who just get labeled as they're white supremacists because they happen to appreciate right-wing populism. And it's crazy. It's so funny. And then, but anyway, it's funny now, but it wasn't funny then because you had to go through a lot of crazy stuff. Who's Harry Dunn?
Harry Dunn is a Capitol Police officer that was rescued by, like I said, it was Kelly Meggs, Kenneth Harrelson, Connie Meggs, and Joe Hackett. He's this, I want to say out of control, but he's like unhinged. Like, he's not fit to be a police officer, but he was freaking out on people and screaming at people. And they're like, whoa, 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 calm down, Harry. Like, his own officers had to step in and like kind of chill him out. He tries to play it off like he's some hero cop that like underwent all this trauma and everything that was happening on the Lower West Terrace. He walked away from it. Like, he was never even, like, he saw it from a balcony, but he just turned around and walked inside and wandered around for a little bit. And then he had gone through, I want to say it was the crypt, and he had gone up some stairs and there's a whole crowd there and they were cussing at him and kind of screaming at him. And the Oath Keepers saw it and they stepped between him and the crowd and they kind of pushed him back and on camera. Well, in our trial, he testified against us and said, I didn't need their help, F them. Well, in his first 302 with the FBI, he said, yeah, these Oath Keeper people showed up and they kind of helped me out. And then in the second 302, he's like, well, they didn't really help me out. They just kind of stood there. And then he gave his testimony before the J6 Select Committee. And all of a sudden, we're these terrible racist people that were like hurling the N-word at him. And none of that happened. And then in our trial, he testified against us and said, oh, well, it was other people I was talking about. It wasn't them, even though the whole thing was captured on camera. He's a serial perjurist. I mean, he lies. His testimony has changed over and over. His story is never the same. Steve Baker from the Blaze Media Glenn Beck, the Blaze. Steve Baker did excellent reporting on this, and he did a whole series on a day in the life of Harry Dunn. And then Special Agent Lazarus, who is Nancy Pelosi's personal bodyguard, essentially, corroborated Harry Dunn's statement and said, nope, yep, that's exactly how it happened. He testified against the Center trial, and he wasn't even in the same building. So what he said he saw, he couldn't have seen because he wasn't even there. He was on camera. So, like, we caught all these people committing perjury, and they got away with it.
Who is that guy now? There's video of this guy?
Yeah, there's video of both of them. Like, everything was captured on, and they lied. They committed perjury. Their trial transcripts do not match the video evidence.
Right. And then was he the black officer that was like going in the stairwells or something like that?
Yeah, he's like 6'5" or something. He's like super tall. He's like probably almost 400 pounds. He's very overweight.
And he was trying to push people back or whatever.
Yeah, and he had a rifle. And he had an M4, and he was like, I'm about to start dumping off on these people. And literally Kelly Meggs and everybody was like, whoa, no, don't, that's not serious. And they pushed the crowd back.
Wow. What I wanted to ask you, I think I missed this question about the Oath Keepers. Do they have chapters?
I mean, I don't know if it's chapters per se. It's more like just like a state hierarchy. So like they have national, and then they have every state has its own little individual leadership.
Do you guys have meetups and stuff? I'm just wondering.
If they do, I never went into. I'm sure they do. I never went to any. We didn't have any Oath Keepers in Ohio that I know of, and that's where I'm from. So
how do you become an Oath Keeper if you don't do any oath keeping? Well, I mean, other than the events, you just do events. Then you just do the events. You guys don't meet up.
I mean, we do just do the events. I joined in late September of 2020, so I'm not really sure. And then I wasn't that involved. So I did 4 days in Louisville, Kentucky, protecting businesses during the George Floyd thing. And then during the Stop the Steal rallies, we were kind of protecting the Trump supporters from Antifa and stuff. But I'm not really sure how their training and stuff. I hadn't been with them long enough. By January 6th, I'd only been with them for like 4 months.
And were you there all 3 Stop the Steal rallies?
I did 3 Stop the Steal rallies. I didn't go to the one in December. Yeah, the Jericho March. The first one I went to was on November 7th. That was at the Ohio State Capitol building. They had Stop the Steal rallies at every single Capitol building on that day. That was all organized by Alex Jones and the
Roger Stone.
Yeah. So I went to that one. Then I went to the Million MAGA March in Washington, D.C. on November 14th. And then January 5th, we had the protective details. So the Oath Keepers protected the VIP stage where Michael Flynn and Roger Stone and everybody was giving their speeches. And then January 6th, of course.
Okay, back to January 6th. So you're there and you guys are walking up, and then you enter into now how does that, you guys like got there late, right? Didn't all the stuff already happen? Didn't like the break-in, the breach and stuff like that? Hadn't that already occurred? Yeah,
before we even got on Capitol grounds, people were already in the building. We didn't know that at the time, obviously, because, I mean, how could we? But, yeah, we didn't show up. We walked through the doors and entered on the east side, which wasn't even the side where all the violence happened. We went in on the east side at 2:41. So it was pretty late in the day. And by 3:05, we were already all out. So we were there 24 minutes.
It sounds fun, though. How was the Capitol experience? So you walk in smoking weed, taking pictures, taking selfies, smoking cigarettes.
Well, it wasn't really my weed. I just seen a guy walking by with it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was like, hey, you mind if I, he's like, well, it's not tobacco. I was like, well, no shit. That's why I want it. Like,
oh, that's awesome. That's so awesome, man. I mean, I really equate what happened and all this stuff really to like the hippie movement. I think it's very similar, actually. I think that, I kind of equate the Hells Angels group to the Proud Boys, not like the fact that the Proud Boys really do like criminal stuff, because it's not true. It's more like a LARP, but, the way that you two, the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys, were there to kind of, protect Trump supporters, like the Hells Angels protected the hippies, So it's kind of like similar, but it's like right-wing hippies. And we're there.
Right. Patriot
gallivanting. Hippies. Yeah, patriot hippies. You can't spell patriot without riot, right? And
Disavow.
You disavow that?
I disavow that.
Well,
I wasn't there to riot. I just
you
wanted to
got
help
caught
people.
up in it. You got caught up in
I
the
did.
right.
The
And
hoopla.
but you know
Right.
you didn't don't you think you felt you got like some humble pie though too at the same time? Because I mean, what brought you there? Ironically, what brought you there was all these George Floyd riot. I mean, it was the stolen election, but the culmination, that was the culmination, and all those George Floyd riots, and those people were rioting like crazy, and it's so ironic that then these people that were so opposed to it got caught up in a riot themselves, right?
Right. I think January 6th would not have gone down the way it did if they had authorized the National Guard, so Trump authorized it days before, and Nancy Pelosi and Muriel Bowser shot it down because they didn't like the optics. And if the National Guard had been there, January 6th wouldn't happen because they wouldn't have just attacked people like the cops did. Like the cops just started chucking grenades and punching people and pepper spraying everybody and tear gassing everybody. And they just kind of opened a can of whoop ass on themselves. I mean, so people there's a lot of veterans and stuff. So they see a little old lady get snatched up and hit, that's going to trigger somebody. And then all of a sudden grenades are going off, they're just, and there was a lot of infiltrators and provocateurs. There's people that we've now later found out were not Trump supporters and did not have good reason to be there. There was 26 confidential human sources that were on Capitol grounds. So, I mean, we found out a lot more.
It was a powder keg. I mean,
For sure
think
it was.
about it. All of these people, what's the percentage of the people that had some kind of military service in their background? I mean, that lean right. I mean,
I think it was the lean right. I would say almost most.
so if you lure a whole bunch of veterans that are prone to PTSD and being triggered by something, and then you start shooting rubber bullets at them and tear gas, what do you think's going to happen?
Right. And those officers that were doing that, for starters, some of them were Department of Homeland Security, Sergeant Daniel Thau and Jimmy Crispin, Tara Tyndall. They're all liaisons in Metropolitan Police for Department of Homeland Security. But they showed up with bags of grenades and just started throwing them without any provocation. And I think they threw 38 grenades in 2 minutes. I mean, you're talking about a bombardment, just grenade. And it's the sting ball grenades with the rubber shrapnel and the tear gas in it. So I think a lot of these people, they just got triggered, they felt okay, you locked down our businesses. You waged riots on our country. You laid siege to the White House. You laid siege to a courthouse for 3 months, 90 days, I think it was. They laid siege to the Oregon courthouse. They burned down American cities left and right. There was a dozen that were killed. You got thousands of law enforcement officers that are injured. And then you steal an election. And then I show up to protest and to support Congress. And then all of a sudden you're going to attack me. I was just throwing a match into a gasoline pool. I mean.
So, okay. You get arrested really, really soon. Basically as soon as you get out of there, a month later or something like that, you're in the slammer.
12 days
Is that right?
later. Yeah. I was in the first wave of J6ers to get arrested.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was arrested technically I was booked into jail 2 days before Trump left office.
So you're talking to the person right now who was part of the last wave. The first wave meets the last wave.
That's a good place to be.
Oh yeah. Well, it was I had my own stuff happen too throughout.
I'm sure. I mean, the lawfare and,
Well, basically, even if you were out, you had to keep your head down and basically go into hiding or whatever, you know?
Right. And you're constantly probably paranoid that every time you see a black SUV drive by that it's your turn. And
exactly. And then finally is.
And it finally is.
You get in there, and then who's in there? I heard Jake Lang, right? He's in there.
Yeah, Jake Lang was in with me. I don't like him.
Why are you saying like that? No, you don't like Jake Lang?
I am not a Jake Lang fan at all.
No, not even in there. You guys didn't forge a bond.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If anything, well, he's the antithesis of everything that I believe in, right? So, and this is, he'll talk a good game. Listen, Jake Lang talks a good game, but we got to see him. I lived with him for a year and a half. Like, I know this kid. He made best friends with Zachary Alam, who told me to my face that he's Antifa. He's the one with the helmet that smashed out the window when Ashley Babbitt got shot. He told us to our face, like, yeah, no, I was Antifa. And then Jake is like, oh, he's a patriot now, guys. He's one of us. No, Jake, he's not. He's not one of us. I don't want anything to do with that guy. And then Jake was trying to get us to sign weird documents. Like, the day after I got charged on seditious conspiracy, he brought me this document that said, like, we're all seditionists and we need to declare war on the United States government and start this 1,000,000-man militia from behind bars. I was like, are you crazy, dude? No, I'm not. I don't want to sign your weirdo document. I don't even want my fingerprints on that. Or like, are you crazy? And he was constantly causing problems with the COs and getting us locked down. And a lot of the people he was hanging out with are, I mean, like, I'm not a fan of Ronnie Sandlin or Nate DeGraves and Zachary Alam. And like, so like these people are all like, they're not patriotic people. Their backgrounds are super sketchy. Most of them have BOP numbers that predate January 6th. So they'd already done prison time. And all of them were grifting really hard. So like they're opening and closing give send goes. They'll fill one give send go up, take all the money, close it, open a whole brand new one and say, hey, you need to donate. And people are like, oh man, this has $0 in it. Let me give you $200. And so like Jake Lang made $1.2 million on give send goes the whole time he was locked up because he kept opening and closing different give send goes. Now, I'm not going to say he didn't do good things because he gave a lot of money back, but he certainly did not give all that money back. I mean.
Oh, I did not know this.
Yeah.
That's very interesting because I know that his dad has money, correct?
Yeah, his dad is, he's an attorney. He's like a high power New York attorney. And I've got incredible respect for Lang Sr. Mr. Lang, he's an incredible person. I like his dad very, very much. It's just Jake I don't like.
Because he's an opportunist.
Very much so. And he used to brag about, oh yeah, because he had a baseball bat and he was beating on the cops with it. And he's like, yeah, I went all Babe Ruth on him. I was swinging for the fences. And we're like, fuck you, Jake. I was like, I'm not into that. I back the blue. I came to protect people. I came to help hurt people. I was like, and you're bragging about beating cops. You're the reason we're all in here because you made everybody look bad by doing that stuff. He's like, oh, you're not patriotic if you didn't hit a cop. What? Like, and there's many J6ers who witnessed all of this, and we'll tell you. Anybody who was in C2B and the DC Gulag for any appreciable amount of time will tell you, yeah, no, Jake Lang is not who he claims to be. And then, of course, you've got all the recent stuff with the Metcalf, Austin Metcalf, and all the like. We need to protect white Americans from violent black Americans, and like, okay, I'm not into the race baiting stuff. Like,
oh yeah, that's a whole nother thing. I mean, that's in right now. But I mean, I'm just interested in how he was behind bars with all you guys. You guys had all your own block, right? And you were put in. So okay, I mean, I guess because you were there with Jake Lang, so you were not put into a female J6 pod, right? I mean,
at first we didn't have a female J6 pod. I did
no
because I've had some surgery downstairs, if you know what I mean. I kept pushing to get put in with the women. They're like, no, we're keeping all the J6ers together. And I'm like, okay, but that's not right. So like I fought to get into the women's pod. It took me a year and a half to get into the women's pod. And then when I got there, it's Gen Pop. So I'm there with, murderers and drug dealers and, your average DC people. We had 2 J6 ladies that were over there with me. So Pauline Bauer was over there with me and Mickey Larson Olsen was over there with me.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but I was on the men's side for a year and a half.
So you had to appeal, and you were probably the only person to experience prison from both the male and female perspectives when it comes to J6.
Certainly the only one, yeah.
You're the only person.
So, yeah. So I was in the DC jail.
that's a crazy perspective, though. I mean, you got to experience both. And that's wow.
Yeah. The Bureau of Prisons tried to put me into a men's prison, but I fought that very hard, and they ended up reclassifying me and putting me in a women's prison. So I didn't go to men's prison, fortunately, thank God.
Yeah, but so you were there in DC Gulag pretty much the whole time then?
I was in the DC Gulag for 2.5 years. Well, 2 years and 8 months to be precise. So, and I spent 1.5 years of that with the guys. And then I got transferred over and I spent another year and change on the girls' side.
And that was all pre-trial?
Yeah, it took us 1 year and 9 months to go to trial. And then trial was 2.5 months. And then sentencing was May 26th of 2022. So it took us almost 2.5 years to get to sentencing. And then by August of 22 is when I went to the Bureau of Prisons. So I spent 2.5 years in the Gulag and about 1.5 years in prison.
And then how was the prison experience different from the Gulag?
So the Gulag was, they hated J6 people. I mean, they hated us. They left us in lockdown all the time. We were in solitary confinement all the time. They would target us and harass us and call us racist names, and they would destroy our legal documents, or they would monitor our attorney-client privilege calls. They did the most. So the DC Gulag was rough. Very rough. But when I got to,
you had some like almost like basically like being abused kind of experiences, right?
I mean, I was not physically abused in the DC Gulag, but Ryan Samsel was and Jake was. Jake got beat for singing the national anthem, actually. They like chokeslammed him against the wall and beat him.
Wow, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. In prison, though, I got beat just a few days before the president released us. So I was trying to get my medical records. I knew the pardons were coming. So I'd been trying to get my medical records, and they kept saying, okay, come back this day, come back that day. And so I went back on the Friday. So Trump got inaugurated on Monday. I went back that Friday to get my medical records, and they gave me a whole bunch of static, and they were screaming at me. And I was like, listen, I'm just here to pick up my medical records. They're like, okay, well, you got to get the F out of here, blah, blah, blah. And so I left, and then I wanted to talk to the captain, and the lieutenant was like, if you come into that lieutenant's corridor, I'm throwing you in the shoe, which is the special housing unit. It's the hole. So I said, okay, fine. I went to work. I worked at the prison library, and my boss seen me, and I was like crying because they made fun of my military service, and they were screaming at me about watching propaganda and, like, you need to accept election results. Joe Biden's your president, honey, all this kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. You can't react. In prison, you got to just like take their abuse and just like take it. You can't react because they'll throw you in the shoe. So I was like, okay, I got to work. At this point, I'm practically in tears. And so my boss calls over and says, hey, can you talk to her? So I'm like, yeah. So the captain sends me back. I go back up in the lieutenant's corridor, and she sees me. She rushes out. She snatches me up by my arm and is trying to like pick me up by it. She's like, put your effing hands behind your back. And at that point, I was told to be there by the captain. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So she's like, another lieutenant came out, and they're both physically trying to pick me up. And I just kind of went limp fish on them. And the captain came out. She's like, whoa, what are you doing? I told her to come up here. So I explained kind of what was going on about the medical records and things. And then after I was leaving, I was walking back to work. That lieutenant comes flying down the stairs, chases me down. She body slams me against the fence. She grabs me by my head and smashes my head against the fence. And and then they handcuffed me and body slammed me and dragged me off to the hole. And I was in the shoe when I was released.
Wow. That's crazy. So, but when you first got in, they were throwing you in the shoe too, right?
Yeah, when I first got in, I was in solitary confinement for 8 months. So,
Why do they do that? Why do they throw people in solitary confinement like that?
And they said it was because of COVID. But they left us in there. So the J6 pod was in lockdown. We started off on 23-1. So you get out of your cell for 1 hour a day. That's to make any food, to make a phone call, to shower, all of that. So you got 1 hour out of your cell. Then they changed that after like 6 months to 22-2. So you got 2 hours out. Then they eventually changed that to 19-5. But by the time they had done that, the rest of the jail had been out all day, like 10 hours a day. And we didn't have that. So like they left us in there. They just the J6 unit. And they're like, well, that's because this is a protective custody unit. We're making whatever they call it, an administrative decision to keep this as a lockdown unit. So.
Wow. So the whole J6, everybody that was arrested, you know, in relation to J6 were all put together in the same unit and basically treated like you were a big shoe unit. You guys were all
right,
kept away from the rest of the general population. You just
Correct.
kept together. Now, wasn't that like almost like the real world on crack or something like that? You know, like how was it being there with all these people? Did you form bonds with these people?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. The J6ers. Yeah. Like we love the hell out of each other. I talk to them on the phone all the time. Like, it's definitely like a family kind of environment with most of us. I mean, there's a lot that they either went off on their own, you know, they got families, they got kids, you know, they got their own things going on. Then you got your Jake Lang types that we don't associate with. And then there's like a core group of us that we're still in contact today.
So, I mean, Jake Lang it sounds like he had some kind of balls. He was singing the national anthem and he got, choked out for it. That's pretty ballsy.
I mean, we were all singing the national anthem. And they had this protest that was
How did that start? How did the national anthem start?
And the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave?
Okay, well, when we first got there, I want to say it was like February, maybe beginning of March of 2001. As far as I'm aware, it started when Big O, now people said they sang it on Con Air, but as far as the unit goes, we started singing it. Big O Barnett, he's the one who put his feet on Nancy Pelosi's desk. Big O was like, hey, I was handwriting a newsletter for the whole pod. I was doing my own little newsletter thing to keep everybody up to date. And Big O's like, hey, I got this idea. Let's sing the national anthem at 6 every night. I was like, okay, cool. Let's do it. So I put it in the newsletter and we circulated it. And at this point, you're talking maybe like a dozen J6ers. There wasn't a whole lot of us. But 6 o'clock was when people were out on rec. So we only got 1 hour out on rec, people trying to call their families and attorneys. So it didn't work at 6 o'clock. So me and Guy Reffitt decided to change it to 9 o'clock. So we started singing the national anthem every night at 9 because then we're all in our cells. What else you got going on? Come on, go to your doors and sing, guys. And it took a while for it to catch on. So me and Guy Reffitt, we'd go to our doors and we'd beat on the doors and be like, hey, it's that time, Patriots, look alive. And then it would be me and Guy, we'd start singing. And then slowly you'd hear other voices chime in. Then as the pod got to filling up, more and more of us got in there, more and more people singing. Before you know it, was a whole blown out thing. We got to sing the national anthem every night at 9. It was really cool.
How big did that pod get?
Let's see. We had the whole bottom tier full up. But we had one cell that was shut down. So there was 48 total. So you got 24 bottoms tier, so 23, and then the whole top tier was minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cells. So I would say probably 43 people at most when CTV was full.
That was it.
That's it.
Out of 1,600 J6ers total, right?
Yeah.
Only like 50 were in that J6 pod in the Gulag in Washington, D.C. at a time?
At one time, yeah. So people were rotating in and out. That's all that unit filled up, though. Like, so there wasn't much space after that. So they started sending people to Lewisburg and to Northern Neck and I want to say Harrisburg. There was a few local jails that were within range that like they started having their own J6 units there. But at the DC Gulag, yeah, I would say probably 43.
That must have been wild, though, going in so early and then only being a couple people. And then all of a sudden, then you got 12 people, then you got some more people, you get some more people, and then you got 50 people, you know, and as people come in, you're like, oh, they finally got you, huh? What'd you get in, you know, and you're just comparing your stories and stuff.
Well, and a lot of big names were in the DC Gulag. So we had like Dominic Pizzola was there. Doug Jensen, he's the one with the Q shirt that like followed the cop up the stairs was there. Big O Barnett was there. I was there. Kelly Meggs was there. Kenneth Harrelson was there.
Did Jacob Chansley?
Jacob Chansley came to the DC Gulag. He was in C2A for a little while. That was the quarantine unit. And he was like demanding like organic vegan food or something, and so they couldn't accommodate him, so they shipped him somewhere else where he could get that, I guess. But I guess he was only there for like a week. And he went on a hunger strike, and then they shipped him out. So,
Jake Lang, tell me, there's something about he was slipping Bible verses under doors, and he had a pseudonym, the Prophet Israel, huh?
Make believe. They were his own Bible verses. They were like half patriotism, half like Old Testament mumbo jumbo, like a lot of doth and thous, but like, dude, you're right. Like, and it was like the book of Yisrael. Like, dude, that's like very sacrilegious. Like, most of the guys are Christian, so they were very, very offended by it. I'm not Christian at all, so I was like, whatever, Jake, take your crap. Like, but yeah, he would do that, and then he would try to do these prayer groups, but it was like always like a hybrid of patriotism mixed with, but it was like, I don't want to say the worst kind of patriotism, but inflamed rhetoric, like it's time to like fight back. And like it was always like centered around violence. Like, whatever.
No, I mean, this is a good psychoanalyzation of Jake Lang. I mean, I find him to be an interesting character. I can't get mad at people for being loudmouths and being outspoken. I can't do that because that'd be hypocritical. But I admire his gumption. But yeah, I think that there's some things that are pretty crazy about him and his rise. It's very, like opportunistic. Like I do. It's obvious. It's so obvious. And then when he called Mr. Metcalf or whatever, like a cuck and stuff like that.
That's super offensive. And then that disgusted me. And Cash Kelly, he called him a violent black American, like on a podcast full of J6er or X Space. And all of us were like, screw you, Jake. Like, he's just been, since he got out of prison, he's been on this whole race baiting kick. I mean, it's really disgusting. Like, I don't play like that. So,
yeah. Okay. So, all right. You go through the trial. Was there any standout things about the trial that happened that you could tell me? The whole
trial was standout. So they fabricated evidence, they falsified testimony, they committed perjury, they threatened our witnesses. They did the most. Like, our trial was such a sham. Like, it was a 2.5 month train wreck. I mean, it's like, there's no truth here. Like, you guys have nothing on us other than we walk through a door just like every freaking buddy else.
I remembered what I wanted to ask you. So, I believe I was listening to a podcast you're on. You were talking about, how your public defender, you felt like your public defender was colluding with the prosecutor.
Very much. She openly was. She was like, oh yeah, I talked to them and they said this and that. Like, yeah, no, she was definitely like in league with them.
that's the vibes that I was picking up when I went and I was trying to actually help like the Proud Boys during their trial. And I was trying to be a witness for them because I had a video of Joe Biggs saying that I'm interviewing him in the morning and he's saying, what's the plans for today? He's like, there is no, the plan for today is just to go around, walk around, see where everybody's going to be at tonight and then go out and then protect these people tonight. So, I mean, and I thought that'd be some nice evidence, right?
For sure it would. Absolutely.
It was not admitted, and they brought me out. They brought me out there to DC, and I stayed in the house. And then they came up with some kind of excuse at the last minute, and then I wasn't allowed. And I just got the overwhelming like feeling that all of those people, all of those attorneys that were helping them, were like not really trying that hard or something. I don't know, or like kind of like just like throwing the game. Maybe they had a bet on their own team, or I mean, a bet on the other team or something like that. I felt like they were throwing the game. That's what I felt like.
I know that the DOJ was also trying to actively get a lot of attorneys disbarred. So Kelly Meggs went through like 3 attorneys and one of them got disbarred. And it was always on like bullcrap because they didn't want anyone putting up a fight. They didn't want actual evidence being, they wanted us to just roll over and take it. And I know for the Oath Keepers anyway, we weren't having it. Like, no, I'm innocent. I'm going to prove it. So I feel like our attorneys actually did a pretty decent job at fighting for us. But a lot of folks, a lot of people couldn't even afford attorneys, you know, so they were stuck with their public defenders, and their public defenders were already overworked and they didn't feel like protecting us. Like, it's DC. So they're all a bunch of Democrats. And they just saw us a bunch of terrorists. I mean, my public defender told me, oh, you're just guilty. Just take it. And I said, I'm not. I'm telling you, I didn't try to overthrow the government. You've got the evidence in front of you. Just look here, look there. And she just wanted me to just plead out. And I wasn't having it. Like, if they had brought charges to say, okay, well, you did this, and that's how it, but they were bringing evidence that was not true, or not evidence. They were bringing charges that were not true. I'm not just going to roll over and take a destruction of government property charge when I stopped vandalism twice. And I wasn't even on Capitol grounds when the property that got destroyed, the door, I was 26 minutes down the street on Pennsylvania Avenue. This happened on the east side of the Capitol. It's not even in line of sight. Like, I had nothing to do with that. I'm not going to roll over and take this charge. Same thing with seditious conspiracy. I didn't come there to overthrow the government or use force or anything. Like, are you kidding me? No, I'm not taking that. I'm going to trial. I'm going to fight it. So, I mean, I did, and I beat both those charges. So the 2 charges that the DOJ wanted me to plead guilty to are the 2 charges I was found not guilty of committing. And a DC jury found me not guilty. So that tells you right there, like, our Democrat jury even didn't think I did it.
Well, I got to commend you for going to a jury trial.
Had to be done. Did not feel good. I did not want to. Like, if they had brought me the civil disorder charge. So I was in a hallway. Everybody was chanting and protesting and things. And I was kind of like in the middle over here. And the cops just started punching people and beating people. And it kind of became like a stampede situation. But those officers were technically responding to a civil disorder. They couldn't get down the hallway because we were in the way. Okay, I get it. If they had brought me that civil disorder charge and a trespassing charge, I would have taken that. I would not have wasted the jury's trial over. Like, okay, yeah, no, I should not have walked inside. I can admit that. It was wrong. And technically it broke a criminal statute to impede those officers. Okay, I'll take that. But you want to charge me with overthrowing the government? I'm going to fight you all day long because that's not what happened.
Yeah, right. Charge me for what I did. I got no problem with that.
Charge me for what I did. Exactly. So I told my jury when I testified, I literally looked at my jury and said, no, I'm responsible for this. I blocked those officers. I did that. And I apologized to the judge for it and everything. I was like, no, you're going to hold me responsible today, but you're going to charge me with stuff I didn't do. I'm going to fight you. And I'm going to win. And then so 3 of my charges, so I was found not guilty on seditious conspiracy, not guilty on destruction of government property. I was found guilty of obstruction of official proceeding, the 1512C2, conspiracy to the same, and then conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding. Well, the Supreme Court threw all those charges out. So I'm just basically waiting to go to appeals to have those overturned. When that happens, all I'll be left over with is the one thing I admit to you God and king and country, that, yeah, okay, I was in the hallway and I was in their way. I get it. But I did 4 years and 3 days in prison for being in the way. When you look at Code Pink breached the Capitol. They stormed the Capitol. They breached the Capitol. They fought with law enforcement. They were spitting on senators, destroying furniture. Sounds like J6, right? Code Pink did this during the Kavanaugh confirmation hearing. The worst charge, the worst penalty to come out of that was 12 hours in jail and a $10 fine. The guy had violated probation for having done this 2 previous times. Of course, it's a left-wing thing, so they got a little wrist slap and they're on their way. He paid $10 cash out of his pocket, did his little time in booking, and then went home. Never even got an orange jumpsuit. Whereas I did 4 years for doing less. He fought with cops. He was beaten on an FBI agent with a flagpole. He caught a 111 charge and nothing. So like it's the statutes have been inapplicably not equally applied. So yeah, I'm going to fight you tooth and nail in trial because you're charging me with things I didn't do for political purposes. I was a political prisoner. Out of the 6 charges, I was guilty of 1. I should have gotten a ticket, maybe 90 days in a jail, not 4 years in federal prison. Never mind all the gruesome mistreatment, all the malpractice and all the mistreatment, all the horrible conditions. You don't do that to people for literally basically trespassing and being in the way.
Yeah, we got no grace.
Right, exactly. No, they didn't just throw the book at us, they threw the library at us.
Yeah, whenever they have the other side has power, they use it.
Oh yeah.
You know? And I don't know. I feel like our side really doesn't use it sometimes when we have the power.
We play too nice.
Yeah.
We play too nice. That's why, like, you see all the pro-Hamas stuff that's going on, or during Roe v. Wade, they stormed like 12 capitals after they overturned Roe v. Wade. Full-on J6 fighting with the cops, tear gas, broken window, like full-on J6 style riots. It wasn't even a one-day story. The news barely even touched it.
Yeah. What do you know about the scaffolding commander?
Nothing. I heard about it from Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh, so you did not see? I saw that guy. I have video of him. But these guys over here, up on the top, see them? They're I mean, I wouldn't use the word provoking, but they're encouraging a lot of people to hop over the fence and then come through. More people keep on jumping up there, and it's getting fucking nuts, man. I don't know. See? Move forward. The whole time I have video of him up on the scaffold ushering everybody in. Move closer. They can't arrest us all. Go in. He was telling everybody just to go in.
Damn. See, that was all on the West Terrace. I was on the East side. So it was like entirely peaceful over there. There was no violence at all. Like there was like one minute long spat with the police and that was it. So like the police were up top and like some people that all dressed in all black, wearing like the Guy Fawkes mask, the Anonymous or whatever, like all pulled out the same brand of pepper spray and started pepper spraying the cops after someone blew a whistle. So like I suspect they're probably Antifa, some kind of left-wing thing. And then it was a bunch of patriots that were like grabbing them and trying to stop them. But that was all the violence that happened on the east side, was that one little spat up there on the stairs. And aside from that, nothing. So I didn't witness anything that happened over in like the Lower West Terrace or in the tunnel. None of that stuff. The scaffolding commander and none of that stuff. So I didn't see any of that. I didn't even know any of that happened until I got back to the hotel and saw the news. I was like, ooh. Yeah.
Wow. So what do you think it was? If you weren't caught up in any of that stuff, what was it about you that, what were you, like peacocking or something? You're just very distinguishable or something out of all those people?
I was bragging because I was bragging that I was there because like I was stopping vandalism and helping hurt people. I literally rescued 2 people and dragged one guy to the ambulance. I was like, yeah, I'm the shit. Cause like, here I am helping out and trying to make the best of the situation. I didn't really think I did anything wrong. I didn't fight any cops or break windows or nothing. So I was like, yeah, I was there. And, I was trying to set the record straight because what they were showing on the West Terrace wasn't at all what happened on the East Side. So I was like, no, this is a total lie. Like, so I was out on the internet bragging, and they sedition hunters, whoever turned me in.
Oh my God. You were caught quickly.
Very quickly, 12 days.
Sedition hunters.
I would drop my children off at school. I would come home and I would be on it almost like a work day. And then once the kids were in bed, I was up until 2, 3, 4, and then waking up a couple hours later.
Sandy, not her real name, joined a massive citizen effort to identify the individuals who broke into the Capitol. She's been directly responsible for helping to put people behind bars, and she now has to hide her identity for fear of retaliation. Sandy is today part of an informal community of dozens of ordinary Americans who came to be known as sedition hunters. Over time, they developed their own methodologies, guidelines, even a software application to keep track of every individual rioter, giving each one a pseudonym and compiling dossiers of evidence that they then turned over to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, along with the rioters' real identity.
Well, and Parler was a giant trap anyway, so that's where I was doing all my bragging, was on Parler. And Parler was completely infiltrated. So.
You have a wild story. You really got the full J6. You probably, I think at everybody, you have the most detailed, you got the full experience. You got the full Monty. You got the full J6 experience. I mean, in every single angle. You spent 4 years and how many days?
3. 4 years and 3 days.
4 years and 3 days. So you find yourself you're actually in the shoe. And then how did you know that Trump won? Tell me about that, winding down and being released.
So in prison, you can buy this tablet, this little tablet that you can buy movies and music and stuff on. And it has a radio feature. So I was in Tallahassee, Florida. So there was 2 conservative talk radio channels, and I would listen to them 12, 16 hours a day. I would just all day. So when the election night happened, I was in my cell. I had drawn up this entire thing. I took all the electoral counts for every single state. I built this entire spreadsheet. I still have it. If I had known, I would have brought it so I could show you guys. But I tabulated everything, and then as the count was coming in, I was coloring in the states, if they turned blue or red, and I was just meticulously calculating, and I had a whole thing hour by hour what states flipped, and anyway, so when there was enough, when it finally reached past 270, I was yeah, my poor Bunky, my cellmate, she I think I woke her up probably 5 times that night, but I was just screaming, and so I was just crying and then laughing like a crazy person and then crying again. I would just, because Trump promised he was going to set us free. And so I knew when Trump won that we were going to have a good 4 years, and I was going home. So it was very overwhelming. But everybody knew the next day after after Trump won, everybody was from all over the prison were rushing to find me and hug me, and yeah, it was good.
And be good, congratulations, you're going home.
Everybody knew. They're you're going home, you're going home. And I was freaking out. I was you don't understand. I'm one of the oath keepers. Because Trump said he was going to pick and choose, right? And so I was really worried he was going to leave me behind. So thank God he didn't.
And then did you get out right away? You were released right away?
More or less, yeah. So like I said, I was in the shoe that 4 days before inauguration. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, I was in the shoe, and Monday was inauguration day. And they came by, and the guard came. She was the CO. She said, "Are you ready?" She looks at me, she smiled. So they handcuffed me, because anytime you go to the shoe, they have to handcuff you in and out of your cell. So they handcuffed me, pulled me out. And she's "Are you ready?" And at that point, my heart was just going so fast. And I was just yes, no, maybe, I don't know, because I don't have a ride. And she's "Okay, we're going to take care of all that." So she brought me down, and I called, and I got some friends, some J6 friends that were already out to come get me. And yeah, so I got released at 2 a.m. on January 21st.
How does it feel being out?
It feels good now. Then it felt so surreal. Like I was very paranoid for a very long time. Like they're going to want to throw me back in. I don't know. You just get paranoid so easy in prison. And so like I got released from the SHU and like 20 minutes later, I'm at a Waffle House and it just felt so weird. Like the silverware and stuff, like it's contraband. You can't have metal stuff in prison. So like, and knives, like I got a knife to cut my biscuit and gravy with. Like I felt like I wasn't allowed to touch it, like it was very weird. Like, Kenny Harrelson and his wife came and picked me up. They're co-defendants of mine. And he's sitting there smoking a cigarette and I'm like my brain is like, that's contraband. I can't even be in the same vehicle. And then my brain is like, wait a minute, I'm in a vehicle. Like, so it was very weird and like, it was hard for me to sleep. For the first month I was out, I was getting about 3 hours of sleep every night. I just couldn't sleep. It was just too quiet. There was no keys. There was no people high on meth. We had a meth problem like crazy in our prison. Nobody was on K2 and tweaking out and throwing up all over the place and just wigging out. It was just being someplace quiet, or like a dog. There's a dog. Oh my God, a dog. Like I haven't seen a dog other than like a guard dog, like in years. It was very weird, but I'm adjusting. I still have I have PTSD and things, but
yeah, I mean, it's good to have. I know I was just talking to Dom Box the other day about this, and I was asking about getting used to the mattresses, those really thin mattresses, and
yeah, they're like this thick.
Yeah, that must have been terrible. That's the worst, probably the worst. I mean, also they talk about the food, right? And then you got to rig up all these like concoctions to make yourself feel like you're eating some kind of semblance of normal food or whatever. And then
right.
Also, I think getting used to, I think I would get over that. I don't think I'd have more of a problem with the food. I think out of food and sleeping, I think sleeping would be the worst. That would be the worst.
It was pretty bad because my back hurt something like 4 years of sleeping on steel. Yeah, I mean, it's rough. It's real rough. Food was bad though. I mean, like, especially the gulag was terrible food too, but in prison, like the inspector general came through and did a report. They found rat feces in half the cereal bags. There was maggots and all sorts of stuff, black mold and like expired food. The meat that they were feeding us in prison was literally labeled not for human consumption, stuff like that. So, I mean, it wasn't great. So you had to be picky and choosy. So you don't eat rice because the rice has maggots in it. You don't eat the cereal because it's got rat shit in it. Yeah, like, so like there's stuff like, we had a rat problem like crazy. And medical, you could hear them boom, 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 because they'd be running up and down on the ceiling tiles. The rats would be up in the ceiling because medical shares a wall with the commissary where all the commissary food is. So the rats would get into commissary, they'd chew into the packaging. So you'd have to, when you buy your commissary, you have to check it to make sure there's no like chew holes in your packaging. And then, yeah, and then there's dead rats in medical because they die up in the ceiling tiles. So you go in medical and the whole place would just reek of death. And they just leave dead rats up in the ceiling tiles. The medical was terrible. Malpractice like crazy. So, like, we've already discussed this. I've had some surgery downstairs, if you know what I mean. So I'm on hormones for life. Well, they didn't know how to deal with that because they're not professionals at that. So like they were injecting me with 4 times as much estrogen as I was supposed to get. So like my kidneys started shutting down, and then they realized that after a few months, and then they backed off my dose. They're still giving me too much. And so like my body was converting estrogen into testosterone. And they're like, oh, well, if we can't bring your testosterone levels down, we're going to ship you to a men's prison. I'm like, y'all are the ones injecting me with too much of this stuff. And so they were just giving me like a crap load of testosterone blockers, twice as much as if I hadn't had surgery. And like, so that was causing me medical problems. And I had gotten an infection on my ankle. It swelled up like a golf ball. I mean, like a golf ball size thing. It was like leaking. It was bad. And they didn't even want to treat it. And like I had to grab a lieutenant to get it treated. And then what else? I got an infection in my face and they didn't treat that for days. And like it's to the point where my whole lip, my upper lip stuck out past my nose. And like my whole face was swollen up. And they just left me like that. They just like, well, here's a COVID mask. Just put this over it. Like, it's not treating it. You're just trying to hide it so you don't got to look at my crazy looking face. Like, yeah, so malpractice is a problem. One of my friends, Miss Virginia, she's like this sweet little old black lady that was in like a wheelchair. She had a full on stroke. Like her face is like melting down the side of her face. She can't blink. She can't talk. She's not swallowing right. Like she's having a stroke. And they're like, oh, just go buy some milk of magnesia on commissary. They sent her back to her unit, and then 3 days later, she came back. She's like, I'm still having a stroke. So they're like, okay, maybe we'll get you some help. Like, prison is crazy.
This sounds like hell.
Very
You've
much.
been to hell. But speaking of being to hell, though, it doesn't make you want to contemplate heaven because from what you said before, you said you're not a woman of faith, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really do all that, no. I mean, I practice Buddhism. Like, I got my little Buddha back there. But, I mean, I do that just, like, as a philosophy, just to keep me, like, sane, just to, like, you know, like, it's not really a religion for me, though.
Prayer is just a form of meditation. I basically do
Right.
the same thing.
I
don't
imagine.
I don't even say anything. I do the sign of the cross and then don't even say anything because God already knows what you want or what you need, right?
Sure.
So anyway, thank you so much for being on the show. Is there anything else? Like you're on social media, right? I mean, you probably sharing too much information on there and enough to get you thrown back in jail soon enough, right? Right back into it.
No, we're not doing any of that.
What about work life? Any bars in the future going to be acquired?
No, it's very hard work. I don't really want to run a bar ever again.
No?
Not like a public bar. I mean, maybe if I had a private club, that'd be all right. It's very hard dealing with last call and drunks and fights and guys perving on girls. You know, it's a lot. And then like it's a lot. Running a bar is a lot. And especially because me and my fiance were running it by ourselves. So that kind of ran us into the ground.
Are you going to take the entrepreneurial route again? Or risk working for somebody else and then being demonized for your J6 status?
Right. Well, I don't mind being demonized as long as you're willing to give me a paycheck. Like I like work. So, but right now I don't have a job, unfortunately.
But you want to work?
I do very much.
I'm sure you'll get back on your feet soon. The thing is, being in prison, what they say that basically when you're, and I had another guy, one of my buddies, said this to me because he's done a lot of prison stints before, not for J6, but he said that when you go to prison, it's like basically time stops. Time stops for you. The world continues. And when you get out, you're basically in the same place that you were when you went in. And so the world went and moved on without you. And now you're like stuck in this spot, you know?
Well, yeah. And the world has changed so much since I got out. Like, well, Joe Biden completely fucked up the country. So like there's all sorts of stuff all the transgender stuff, it wasn't like that when I got locked. Or if it was not as problematic as it is now. I don't know. Joe Biden really fucked. I was sticker shock, like the price of things. I was like, why does everything cost so much? Like it just blew my mind. And so, yeah, like the world had changed a lot while I was gone. And I came home and I was like, oh my goodness. We went through a Wendy's and it had like an AI that took my order. There's no human. Like it blew my mind.
Wow. What do they call them? The time, a vessel. What is the things when you put it down in the ground?
Time capsule. Yeah.
Yeah. You're basically
like buried in a time capsule.
You're buried in a time capsule, basically. It's crazy. But God bless you, even if you don't believe in it.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Too.
I appreciate you. Now I want to follow you too, though. Like, what is your handle on there? Do you have Jessica Watkins?
It's just my name, Jessica Watkins, except for instead of a E in Jessica, just replace it with a 6. So it's like J6, Sika.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's so smart.
Yeah, if you turn an E upside down, it's a 6.
That's awesome. Jessica Watkins, thank you for being on Bobby Pickles podcast. I appreciate you.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.